Hello and welcome back to the Boom Radio Gamescast. As always, I am your host Ryan, and today I'm joined by my lovely cohort of co-hosts Alex,
Hi.
Brett,
Hello.
and Wyatt.
Hello.
All right, we're coming off of our little mini break here. I have achieved the illness known as COVID, so my camera is off for this episode, and if I am quiet for a little bit, you all know what has happened. Otherwise, we're going to be talking about the state of play that we didn't get to talk about live, so we're going to do that, and we're going to talk about some Sonic stuff, unfortunately, and for all the other news from the last couple weeks. We got some Warhammer Skulls going on, some fun things from that. For the most part, it's the show as usual. Everyone feeling good? Everyone excited?
Usable.
I'm
Oh, yeah.
Usable?
I'm feeling.
I'm feeling better than you
Great.
are, Ryan.
Wonderful.
Jeez.
Just
Look,
going
I might
back to
sound
work, I
off,
guess.
but other than that, mostly fine. So I'm lucky on the scale of
That's
COVID
good.
experiences.
Thank God.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and kick it off with the Sonic stuff because, man, I do not know how to put this in a way that is at all good. So
Just be as constructive as we can be, right?
So I have
Not be too mean about it.
no idea what you're talking about. The only Sonic news I know of is when I watched the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie and Ugly Sonic was in it.
Have you not heard
As
about any
a-
So
of
we
this?
as
we
a
got two
crucial
Sonic
plot point.
videos to look at. For fellow hosts, you will have to check the Twitch stream if you want to watch along. You'll be like 10 seconds behind, but that shouldn't matter. We got a couple of things going on. This is IGN's preview, world first premiere of the gameplay. We're just going to take a quick little look through here. It doesn't look so great, is the
No.
overwhelming experience here. And I want to pull out a few key pointers. First of all, what is this art style? What am I looking at? Why is why is it realistic? Why is Sonic? I don't know.
At this point, it should not be a surprise that a 3D game made by Sonic Team does not look like it's going to be so good.
It just really looks unfortunate. I think that's the overwhelming sense here, is that this is just an unfortunate art style decision.
These look like
His
stock
feet are
assets.
moving too fast. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the overwhelming reaction I had
He's a
upon
little
seeing this
slippery.
was this looks like test footage of Unreal Engine 5 or Unreal Engine like 4 that would have been
I was gonna say
shown.
five
I think that's exactly
Five's
what other people
generous.
said too.
Yeah.
It really to me looks like test footage of Unreal Engine, and
I
like
thought
you can
I'm
look
gonna
and
be
see
honest.
like these little platforming bits out in the side that are just like hanging in the air.
I'm
Just,
gonna
it's
be
so,
honest
so
with you.
strange to
If-
me.
and this has been a common theme among people's reactions as well. But if you showed me this and didn't say this was an official Sonic game by Sonic Team, I would say, "Oh, this looks like an Unreal Engine project that someone's working on in their free time."
Yeah,
But this looks worse than those.
No, it does.
And remakes of Sonic in 3D are usually like great looking and they're stylized and wonderful and they look like
But
they
isn't that what
your
isn't that what your mind would go to first
yeah.
Oh, totally,
for
yeah.
official Sonic?
I mean, like visually,
Right.
this looks most like Starforge. I don't know if anyone here remembers Starforge,
Oh,
but Starforge was that
No.
crazy,
That's a
terrible
death
failure
sentence.
of a Minecraft in space clone that did not do well. It was a poorly made asset flip, essentially. And that's
Yeah.
what we got.
And this is
That's
Sonic
what
trying
happened.
to be Halo Infinite open world?
And this is
This-
Sonic Team's next Sonic game.
I was
Halo
gonna
Infinite
say
looks
this-
better than this. Come on,
Not that much.
give it a little bit of credit.
this
It
looks
better
like-
Halo
than
Infinite
this.
can pull off a realistic art style. This cannot.
Yeah, Halo Infinite is allowed to have a realistic art style because it needs one. This no. But this reminds me visually of before the days of Fortnite, before the days of PUBG back in middle school, when you go over your friend's house and you just spend like 20 minutes just building a battle royale map in Forge World on Halo Reach, and you build a little cornucopia.
Oh yeah,
Throw a bunch of weapons in there, and then all right, we're just gonna like put a bunch of random like forts and stuff all around Forge World, and just like all right, now you have the rest of the hangout period to kill each other on the map and just pretend you're playing Hunger Games. This looks like that. This just looks like
Yeah.
random, like singular Forge World assets just thrown
That's a good
across
way of putting
a
it.
vast open
You know,
plain.
I just saw that his like little curled up ball form is an entirely different mesh.
Yeah.
With some strange lighting effects.
No, this whole thing
Yeah.
just it looks odd to me because I think individually some
Default
of these
sphere, you
assets
might
look
say.
pretty good. Not the stop sign;
Yeah.
it looks terrible. But I think Sonic's model is okay. The like fires look fine. A lot of these like weird gates are actually pretty interesting looking, but they just don't fit together. Like none of
I think
this matches.
The biggest question is like, why is it like a photoreal
An interesting
environment?
thing.
It
I mean,
just
I guess
doesn't-
I wonder if they looked at Mario Odyssey in the like dinosaur world, and that was their only takeaway from that game.
But the
It's
point
just that
of,
one
but part of
level.
the point of Mario Odyssey is that every area was a different art style. Essentially, that was like one of the
Yeah.
biggest parts of like when it came to the visuals.
And this is
So
just a
they would-
boring looking open world.
Mhm.
I guess it's
And again,
interesting
just
that you
the
have to do some
floating
type of
puzzle pieces in the sky it looks so bad. It's just so
That
out
you
of
have to do-
place.
I guess it's kind of interesting that you have to do some type of Pokemon Ranger style-esque circling things like
Yeah.
the flames to interact with them.
Well, that was the one
Um,
thing because they essentially organized this into two different like videos, right? They had like open world exploration puzzle stuff, and then they had like a combat video later, right? The only
Oh yeah,
thing
we're
that
gonna
really
we're gonna
like,
look at the combat.
right, but to that point, the only thing that really interested me about that was like him kind of making a circle to like launch enemies in the air. It was out of both of those videos that they've shown, it's the only thing that really like piqued my interest at all because that's kind of an interesting idea. But none of the exploration, combat, like visuals, just nothing was.
It's just no
Just-
consistency.
Yeah,
Because like Sonic games are about speed, and these exploratory games often want you to slow down and like look
Mhm.
at a level in a more precise way.
You know, the antithesis of Sonic.
Yeah, and this is just
Exactly.
not that.
Which is
but
what,
also
like, again, this is it's the exact same problem that Sonic Team runs into whenever they make a 3D Sonic, is that they just can't figure out, for whatever ungodly reason, how to maintain the sense of speed and inertia that you want in a Sonic game. Just every single 3D Sonic game, it just turns into platformer number 5 million with occasional loop-de-loop in it. It's
I know, the
always
fans know
been
how to
like
make
that.
it.
The fans know how to make it perfectly because
Yeah.
they've been playing these games since they were the appropriate age of approximately 7. But like at the people that have been making them since then apparently do not know at all.
Yeah.
It like this look, we talked about this during our Halo Infinite talk, but this especially, just looking at it, is like they might have well just called it Sonic trend chasing, because that's literally what it is. It's just exactly just like, oh, what are games now? Open world and the foliage looks nice, and okay.
Yeah,
Good job.
here's a look at the
I
combat.
will say if there's any game to take into an open world, I feel like an open world Sonic game could be interesting. Like you could take that open world trend and do something interesting with Sonic, but it's just, I don't know. It's just, yeah, they didn't.
This ain't it, Chief.
I feel like if they're allowed to go any further with this, they're gonna add fast travel into a Sonic game.
Which would be
It also-
hilarious, dude. Oh my
That
god.
yep, that would be a real
It's a whole purpose.
state to be in.
Well, also, and we point this out all the time when we see like gameplay of things, right? There's no UI. That's
Yeah.
always a
Yep.
telling sign. And there's a lot more to talk about just with these videos as is, but again, there's no UI, and that always raises an eyebrow for me. Like even for games that I'm excited about. Like I'm excited about Warhammer Darktide. We've gotten a little bit of gameplay with no UI. That still is concerning. Whereas here
There
it's
was
just
no,
pile it on top of everything else.
yeah, there was not even any there wasn't any diegetic way you could see that Sonic had possessed a certain number of rings. So it's gonna be just plastered on the screen with some.
Well, it's like I don't have an
Not
issue
even
with
copy and
Sonic
paste.
having a UI. I just want to see it.
Yeah.
I want it to match the
It doesn't
aesthetic, but there
help
is
with
no
the trust
aesthetic
issues.
here. Yeah, I'm
What's
just super
the UI
confused
gonna look like if it's that trying to be realistic world though?
because
Well,
like
it's just-
it feels like this realistic world was probably inspired by Breath of the Wild, but Breath of the Wild has a stylized world. So where did the idea to go for realism stem from? Is really my question. Because
The other thing is
they're not taking
I
the right
don't.
lessons from these places.
The other thing is I don't want to be that person where like, oh, I see a large open field with a ton of grass. Oh, it's like, ripping off of Breath of the Wild. But then I heard the music, which I don't know if we can.
We can't hear the
or-
music on this. I have it turned
Right,
off.
right. But it's very like some guy just twiddling away at a piano, which was
Which does not
very.
fit
It's
Sonic.
giving you, which first of all doesn't fit Sonic, and second of all, that does give me Breath of the Wild vibes because that was one of its unique qualities. Is this really interesting, like laid back, like very simple music,
Yeah.
and it doesn't
Sonic
fit Sonic.
Sonic is piano and jazz during a casino level. Anytime else, it's butt rock, and I will
Yeah,
hear
exactly.
no exceptions.
Yeah. And the weird thing with this combat is actually I kind of like some of the things that we've been shown, like the idea of circling these enemies and popping them up and whatnot. And there's a bigger enemy that I think we'll see right here later in.
The
Yeah, this
camera's
one.
very jerky. It keeps like
Yeah, camera's
spinning
bad. You
way
can see
out and then
his feet are not lining up with how fast he's moving. He looks like he should be moving twice as fast. But yeah, I like some of the concepts here. It just these enemies have no identity. They have no design
No.
to them. They look like
Like
Digimon.
Sonic enemy.
They look like bad Digimon, not even good
it
Digimon.
feels like it looks like they're like in the middle of making a combat system, and this is kind of like prototyping, right? Like, oh, we're just going to use stock environment assets. We're going to make this monster looking thing, and we're going to show off what we're prototyping for combat. It doesn't feel
It just
like it
none of
would
this
be a
environment feels
finished.
cohesive. And like you can do
Yeah.
this weird puzzly environment and have it feel cohesive because Immortals Phoenix Rising did it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but
it just
also
feels like
Immortals
this is
Phoenix
really
Rising
taking the wrong
had
inspiration.
that had like a more stylized look to it. Like the problem with making it photoreal or supposed to be photoreal is that when you start having these weird platforms and puzzles floating everywhere, it just doesn't work. If you had a more if you had an art style that actually fit the Sonic character
Yeah.
design, it wouldn't be a problem. You can suspend a lot more disbelief, or suspension of disbelief.
I wonder if, because to me it literally looks like Sonic's animations have been pulled directly out of Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. Like his just like him standing like completely like his body staying completely stable as he's running as fast as he can, and just like how like choppily he switches between animations and stuff. It just
Mhm.
looks exactly pulled 1-to-1 from Sonic Adventure 2. And I wonder if
Yeah, I wonder.
because everything it genuinely just feels like, all right, wait, what is this game going to be? Oh, we own Sonic. We're just going to put Sonic in this game, and it's going to be the Sonic open world game. It doesn't look like a Sonic game. It's just a green field with a big robot that, again, has about as much identity as your average, like jobber Sonic enemy. And we're just going to put Sonic in it because we had no idea what this game was going to be. And we haven't made a Sonic game in a while. That's what it looks like. And if it wasn't, that's a really bad thing for your game to look like. And if it was, that's a really bad thing for your development team to be doing. There's no winning. There's no winning here. This is very
This is confusing.
not a lot of confidence here.
Well, now I like the terminology of a jobber Sonic enemy.
Well, I don't know what else you'd call them.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the kind of thing where I think a lot of people thought Sonic Frontiers was a cool idea when it was announced, and this is not a confidence-inducing video to show us as an example of that. So, yeah, I'm a little off-put by this entire experience. We'll
You are
put it
not
that
the only
way.
one.
All right. With that, let's go ahead and get into. We'll save the state of play for last and go through the Warhammer Skulls presentation because this one's a little bit quicker to go through. There is some cool stuff here. We are getting a CRPG in the Warhammer universe called 40k universe called Rogue Trader, and it's made by the Pathfinder Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous devs Owlcat. Both Pathfinder games are excellent. They are exceedingly good CRPGs.
Convenient timing because I just started playing Kingmaker, and and as also someone who played a bunch of Pathfinder in high school, I can confirm very good game. Very good.
They're good games. They're good adaptations of tabletop rules in a way that makes sense for video games.
It can be a little unforgiving because of that, but
yeah, luckily the difficulty options let you tune it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this I think is super cool. I just am glad we're getting a CRPG that is space themed, and 40K is such a cool setting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this ends up looking like. Yeah, just an exciting announcement. I have a feeling this is a little ways off because it is Wrath of the Righteous came out very recently, so I don't suspect that team has multiple teams working on games. I feel like they're too small of a studio. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good bit till we see more of that. All right, moving on. This was my personal game of the show. 40K.
I think this is most people's.
40K
to be honest.
bolt gun looks incredible.
Bolt gun looks sick.
Yeah, I'm not gonna bring up the trailer because there's only like 5 seconds of gameplay footage in it, but it is super good looking. The 40K weapons translate really well to boomer shooter sprites. Heavily recommend checking this out. It's coming in 2023, so still a ways off, but looks really good.
And it had this really heartwarming intro, like live action bit where someone is going through their dad's like old, stuff,
Yeah.
and they found some like Warhammer miniatures, and they saw bolt gun on like a floppy disk and stuff. It was this really cute little live action intro.
Yep, I absolutely love the look of this. The levels have a very good feeling to them. It looks really well constructed. I'm just happy to see more seemingly high budget boomer shooter type games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird sentence because boomer shooters definitely look relatively cheap in terms of game aesthetics, but you can tell when one is constructed with a lot of care. And I think this one definitely
We'll
has
call
that
it
look
high
to it.
effort.
It's something
Yeah.
I'm very interested in graphics wise. Do you guys think those are 2D sprites or 3D models that have been turned into sprites?
It reminds me a lot of
Because it's incredibly fluid and beautiful looking.
yeah, it reminds me a lot of the way that Proteus handled its visuals, especially with the weapon models. It looks very similar to that.
Yes.
Mhm. Or
And
Doom, honestly, with the enemies, they were all
Yeah.
just like pictures of things that they just made really
The
low
billboard
resolution.
PNGs.
And
Yeah.
the little bit of music that we heard during the gameplay section of the trailer sounds awesome as well.
Do we
Which is
know
important.
if it's Andrew Holschult, Boomer Shooter Man?
I would not be
Is
surprised. I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
I can check and see. But yeah, otherwise, I think this is definitely the most exciting thing from this showcase. It feels like a lighter Warhammer Skulls because we just got Total War Warhammer 3, so a lot of the bigger stuff probably has already happened, I think. Yeah, I don't see a mention of the composer, at least not on here. So
I feel like you want to advertise it if it was him.
yeah, not sure, but it could also not be a finalized soundtrack yet because 2023 is the date for it. So it could be a while. We got Heresy Legions. That's the other game they did. We got Warpforge, Warhammer 40K Warpforge, which is a card game, classic Hearthstone style card game. I don't know. I'm not the audience for this. I don't know if anyone else here is particularly into card games.
I got into
I
into Hearthstone for a while. So
Yeah, I was into Hearthstone
be.
and Magic Arena for a long time, but I'm kind of out of the card game for now. But this
I am
looks.
for a bit, yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people that are into Warhammer might get some enjoyment out of this. But yeah, I am curious because Warhammer tends to be a pretty hardcore audience, so I feel like a lot of them might just go past the card game and into straight tabletop stuff or more into that like RPG or bolt gun. Yep, we saw some Immortal Empires footage from Warhammer 3, which is essentially for you guys who haven't played it, it's a massive amalgamation of all 3 Total War Warhammer games, where you can play every faction from all the games in one big map. So it's a huge, like, grand strategy styled map. Really fun in the second game. This one's going to be really cool, I assume. And yeah, I'm excited to see when this actually launches. It's beta in 2022, so hopefully we'll see the full mode early 2023. Yeah. Excited to see that. Chaos Gate Demon Hunters came out a little while ago. Some more stuff was shown for that. Overall, good looking game. Hey, Wyatt.
Yeah.
I feel like this is another game for you, which is Warhammer 40,000 Shoot His Blood and Teeth, which is this goofy little goblin beat 'em up shooting action game. It looks like something you'd find on Armor Games or something.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
2010.
But we mean that in a good way.
In
we
a
mean
good
that in
way,
an endearing way.
No,
Not a
this looks
cheap-
really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Bolt Gun was not here, this would be the thing that would call to me the most, I think. But yeah, I really like the look of this. I think it looks like a perfect chaotic amalgamation of whatever Warhammer has become. And it's coming out on Switch, which always makes me happy. I like to see some cool Switch stuff.
This would be a good Switch game, I feel like.
Yeah, and this is coming out October 20th this year, so relatively soon. Vermintide 2 got new stuff announced. Blood Bowl 3 coming soon. Blood Bowl 3 first beta was not well received a while back, so hopefully the second beta, which has started, I think, by the time this podcast is out, and runs until June 12th, hopefully it's a little bit better, because Blood Bowl 2 is a pretty legendary strategy game, if you can call it that. It's essentially, it's football, turn-based football with Warhammer characters. So it's a crazy pitch, very crazy game. It's a lot of fun. It's one of those weird games that like takes a sport and just turns it into the most insane version of itself you can get. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun with Blood Bowl 2. I'm excited for Blood Bowl 3, but the first beta was not super well received. So I'm hoping this one is better.
I do enjoy that extreme sport category, as we'll see later on when we get to that certain game.
Extreme sports fans are eating well.
Oh yeah.
Like fans.
And of course, the most important announcement from Warhammer Skulls: the World of Tanks game is getting a battle pass that is Warhammer 40k themed.
there are a couple of things that they showed off that isn't super, like there isn't a whole lot to say. Like we did get some quote unquote like behind the scenes stuff for Space Marine 2, but we didn't really get a lot of new.
Yeah, that's like the Starfield
information.
videos that we haven't talked about because they're not super relevant.
But I mean, that's probably like, it wasn't the best like showing for this event, but it's probably one game that's probably the most hyped on this list, is because that, you know, Space Marine 1 is such a great game.
I'm looking forward to seeing some straight gameplay.
Yeah, when it happens, but it's not here yet.
That's my hope. Yep. All right, Warhammer Skulls, pretty much over and done with. We got what we some fun stuff there for this group of non-Warhammer enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Aside from me and my Total War addiction. All right. Moving on to our big ticket show of the day, the State of Play. We'll kind of let it go while we are talking. We saw some big stuff in this. First off, Resident Evil.
Yeah, started off with
We're
a
getting
bang.
a full remake.
That Spanish guitar is music to my ears.
It's great because I feel like I watched a couple other like games groups react to this after the fact because I couldn't watch it live, and there was one person that got it directly just from the font of the date as to what this was, and I was like, oh my god.
That's awesome.
Because as soon as the Spanish guitar starts, there's a few things it could be. It could have led into like a Last of Us-y thing because of how much guitar was in part 2,
Yeah,
but then the whole 4
second,
reveal.
I thought for a second it was going to be like the Last of Us 1 remake, or the Last of Us 1 remake.
Yeah, I forgot about the remake that's happening.
Which is still happening for some reason.
I forget about it happening because it feels like it doesn't need to exist, but
yeah.
That aside, I think this looks really cool. Resident Evil 4 is one of the most legendary action horror games of all time.
Yeah.
For good reason. It's extremely good. It's been a long time since I've played the game, and when I played it originally, I had not played any other Resident Evil games.
I feel like that's most people.
I
Honestly,
think that's most people.
So different. Yeah, it's so different from the other RE games anyway. But it's like,
this trailer is just so aesthetic.
Have you played a third-person shooter before? Well, you have Resident Evil 4 to thank, because that was pretty much like the first one that felt good and did a lot of the things that things still do today poorly afterward.
Resident Evil 4 is to third-person shooters what Halo is to first-person shooters.
Yeah,
It-
I do
yeah,
just
it-
love the look of this.
Yeah.
Important note: this is not coming out on last gen. This is a new gen exclusive thing: PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. Launches March 24th, 2023. So first quarter of 2023. And there's a little tag. Let's see if it pops up here, but it has been announced this is coming to PSVR 2.
Yes.
So what that actually looks like, we don't know yet, because we are not sure if PSVR 2 is launching, or like what the timeline of PSVR 2 launching is. There's a few other things in this that have release dates for this year. So possibly this year, but at the same time, it feels like we would have gotten something by now if they're launching before holiday. So yeah, either way, this is probably still going to be extremely hard to find. Yeah, there's the PSVR 2 announcement. Yeah, so I'm just super excited to see this, because the remakes from Resident Evil have been very different. They're not the same as the original games. They're complete like reimaginings of them. So I'm excited to see what Resident Evil 4 looks like with new stuff. And I would wonder if they're going to keep going, because 5 and 6 were not amazingly well received, but I think with the remake treatment, they could kind of morph them into something a lot better.
I agree.
So I think we're hitting the point where they could remake games that are actually relatively bad and turn them into proper sequels that are good. And I'm curious if they'll go that route, because I think it would be worthwhile to do that, especially for 6, which there's some cool ideas in that game, but the majority of the game is really bad. So, yeah. All right. Moving on to our next things, we see some other PSVR 2 stuff that looks very fun. Our little village.
I wish I could enjoy it.
Yeah, this is probably going to be real motion sickness inducing. Village looks really good in PSVR 2. I think the visuals here show off really well. I think the big question mark is just going to be how well does this run, but I think the PS5 is a capable enough system for that to not be a huge concern. We just need to see the hardware. That's my big hang up now, is we don't know what the hardware itself is going to be capable of. So
it's worth pointing out, I don't know if anyone here has seen it or remembers, but like VR footage of Resident Evil 7 looks bad. Like really bad, like atrociously bad.
Yeah.
Like not like unplayable or anything, but it looks like it looks like, you know, like an asset flippy like indie game that people would make fun of, kind of thing. And
Looks
not,
like Sonic Frontiers.
Almost. I think Sonic Frontiers actually
Oh,
looks a
no.
little bit better than Resident Evil 7 does in VR.
Oh,
If I could be daring for a moment.
Oh no.
Yeah. Definitely would agree
What a
that
brave statement.
PSVR 1, the original PS4 PSVR, does not look particularly good in retrospect. I think even the Oculus Quest tends to look a lot better than it. All right. This is our second VR thing. We see this is Walking Dead Saints and Sinners 2. Saints and Sinners 1, really well received game. So curious to see how well this looks to be done. I love the New Orleans aesthetic.
I really
Big fan
look
of
forward
that.
to watching other people play it.
I believe, because I never watched the show, but I did read a good amount of the comics. I believe that's Michonne at the end, who's a big player in the comics and the TV show. So for those of you where that means something, I'm pretty sure that was Michonne.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I have not played or read or watched any other Walking Dead stuff. So out of the loop.
It's a big character in the.
Yeah, I just do think that this game looks pretty good. So if it plays as well as it looks, I think we're going to be in for a good time. And it's succeeding at getting me interested in PSVR 2, which is a thing that I would not be interested in otherwise. So I still have no clue if I'll ever pick this up. But I think the thing that really had me excited, aside from No Man's Sky, of course, which already exists in VR, is our next little VR thing.
Yeah, not a whole lot to
Horizon
talk
Call of the
about
Mountain.
there.
Yeah, another
Well,
thing that
No
I
Man's
will
Sky VR
enjoy
has already
watching
been a thing for a
other
long
people
time.
play.
The only real announcement is that it's VR for PSVR. Horizon Call of the Mountain looks really cool. This is like a neat. It seems like a more story-based kind of take. And I think this, in general, it just looks, the art style is very pleasing to the eye. That Horizon
It's got
aesthetic works
that.
super
It,
well.
yeah, I was about to say it's got that Horizon like world, which is super interesting, like armor designs and the cool looking creatures, and it's nice that you've been able to see everything from a first person perspective,
Yeah.
see everything close.
Though sadly, you won't be able to see your own gear from a first-person perspective, except for the
Well,
hand.
it might not deal with gear. We don't know.
It
I
might
mean,
not,
there
yeah.
isn't
I
a
mean,
whole lot of
probably not. It's a
information.
VR game. What VR games do you know that deal with equipable gear?
Yeah,
A lot of
really, 'cause
them,
it's-
actually. There's quite a number, too.
It depends. I understand what he's saying though, because it depends what the direction of it is. Because like if it's like okay, I'm holding a control, but my face is in VR zone and the camera goes where my head goes, then it doesn't matter. Then it's just a video game. But it's like
Yeah.
if it's VR and it's like I am moving the sword with my hands, and it's like all right, if you're gonna give me like a deep stat heavy RPG armor weapon system with
Oh, the
Wii
climbing axis
boxing,
bit.
no, that doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
I am, and I'm also speaking from someone who doesn't have a lot of VR experience. I can count the amount of times I've played Beat Saber on one hand. But a lot of Horizon is like, especially when you're fighting the monsters, is like, okay, using your bow to like take off this weapon or tear off this piece of armor or something like that. And a lot of that, and I've only played on controller, I haven't played the PC version. And a lot of that is like you're using a controller. There's a lot of like, helpful auto aim there. There's slow mo to help you get specific points. And I don't know how that's going to translate to VR.
I think
Quite yet.
having played a few VR archery games, they tend to be pretty intuitive.
Mhm.
So I think they might need to rely on things like that a little bit less. I have a feeling slowing time and whatnot is still going to be a big part of it.
Well, like
Especially,
how is slowing time going to work in VR though? Because it's not like you're moving in slow mo, but the rest of the game is. So how is that going to translate?
Nausea.
you obviously can't run around the entire time. I mean, I think you might be overthinking the problem.
Okay.
There's
Again,
been a few
'cause
games
I'm
that have
speaking
slowed.
from.
Basically,
Yeah,
every
give
shooter that I've played in VR has had a slow time feature, and it is not nearly as disorientating as it might sound. Just because it basically just turns the world around you into a thing that is moving slowly. So, yeah, I don't think it's as big of a problem as it sounds like it might be. I'm just really curious to see like if this game is progression, if it's more of a story based single walkthrough thing. That's the stuff I'm really curious about because the trailer here shows a lot of different environments and whatnot, and I'm wondering if this is going to be more of like a linear jumping from environment to environment very quickly, almost like arcade style thing, or if this is going to be a more laid out exploratory type thing. I'm curious.
I don't think they're going to be going for a full open world. I don't think that's
Exactly.
really
Yeah,
what they're
I would
going
doubt that.
for.
But
It's
Yeah.
gonna be the un. I hesitate to say the Uncharted level layout because there's a couple different ways you can climb to the same location type thing.
Especially in 4, it's very like pear shaped in terms of levels.
yeah. I don't know. This just looks very good to me. My big worry for the combat is just that the dodging and whatnot is going to be a little awkward, just because there's some moments here with big creatures jumping out at you. I'm like, oh, you would just die. Like, there's no way I can physically dodge this fast enough for what this is moving. So there has to be some kind of like slowed time or something.
If I would dare put on a VR headset, there would be two things that would happen then. I die in the game, or two, I do a full-on somersault to try to get underneath the enemy, and I wreck my whole setup.
And you die in
Max
real
Payne
life.
dive through a window next to you.
God.
I will
Yeah.
say, I mean, if these games are anything to go by in terms of how powerful PSVR 2 is going to be, it's going to be an impressive bit of hardware.
Yeah, there's a
'cause,
lot going on here and a lot of foliage
I mean,
and whatnot.
yeah, because and like the creatures all look great and
Shadows
gonna
look
be like
good, which is usually a
$600.
sign. In addition to the $600 PS5.
If you
I do
can,
get a
well,
s-
that's from official sellers and not
Oh,
eBay,
yeah.
where it's like $1,000. So
I do guess you do get to see maybe not a good bit, but a decent representation of your armor on the hands, because that's a second different glove set we've seen in the trailer.
I mean, they may
Yeah,
have
great
like
customization.
gear for, for stats and like some light RPG stuff if they want to go down that route. But like the visuals of it probably won't matter very much.
Yeah,
We'll see.
that's what I would expect too. All right. So moving on to our next few things, we got some PC announcements. We're getting some cool stuff. We're getting Spider-Man on the PC. Woo.
Yeah.
Good game. Surprised we didn't get a Miles Morales announcement with this. We do get an announcement that it is coming to PC. It's just not. We don't see footage of it really. So
Which is weird.
I have faith in Insomniac, but I don't think it has the possibility of feeling as good as it does on controller than it does on keyboard and mouse.
Well, this is just the kind of game where it's like you play on controller. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. It's like
Yeah.
what are you gonna play like Mortal Kombat with a keyboard? Or are you gonna play like what? No, of course not.
Yeah,
there
people
actually
still
are
will.
people who competitively play Mortal Kombat on a keyboard because you technically
Yeah,
have
exactly.
more.
A bad example, but you know what I mean. There's just
No, but
some
it's
genres.
still, it's because like people still will, but it's like it's like you lump them closer to the people that play like Dark Souls with a Guitar Hero controller,
Yeah.
and people who play it with a regular controller.
I feel like
It's
if you're
oh,
playing
that's
Spider-Man
a
on
weird
PC
category.
and you complain that the mouse controls are bad, I mean,
Yeah,
maybe just get a
exactly.
controller. Just
Yeah.
make your life feel a lot easier.
You can get Xbox 360 like clone controllers for pretty cheap these days.
Yeah, I have an old Xbox 360 pad that I've been using for literally 10 years, if not more than that. That has been totally fine.
They're great controllers.
And now I just pull out my PS5 controller whenever I want to use it on PC. So it's there's a lot of solutions. If spending the $25 to get a decent controller from your computer is too hard, then I think you're gonna have a bad time with a lot of games comparatively. So yeah, I don't have a lot of sympathy if you want to play Spider-Man on your mouse and keyboard and complain that it feels bad.
If you feel attacked while you're listening to this, good. Okay, because we're all with Ryan.
It's time you learned the truth. It's time you face the facts.
Buy a controller.
Suck up your pride and buy a controller.
Man.
Oh my god.
Well, speaking of sucking up your pride, best game ever made is next on this list. Which there's going to be a bidding war, I can guarantee you, for this game, unless someone already has it in the.
I might not forget. I know I had it last year.
I don't know if you grabbed it again this year because we never released date until now. But Stray, back, it's coming out next month.
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere,
Look
we
at that
dropped the
little
release
jaunty
date.
walk on that boy.
And hey,
My goodness.
our first day one PS Plus Extra and Premium game.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like they're leaning at least a little bit into that. Hopefully we get more. But this game looks very, very good. It's literally just footage of a cat walking around, and that has completely sold me on this.
So yeah, I mean that's my question. This seems like it's probably like walking sim, or maybe it has some puzzles.
I think it's definitely going to be like a movement puzzler. You can see some physics stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's items like you gained an item. Yeah,
it's clear there's like stealth because we see some Metal Gear Cat here,
and some like mystery solving stuff too with what's going on with the world. If the little things that they show here and then.
I mean, the honest thing here, the vibes this is most giving me is Beyond Good and Evil vibes.
Oh,
there's been so few games that have given that feeling to me, and this is absolutely one of them. And the little wink that the cat does is so cute. But yeah, I think this game looks absolutely adorable. Yeah, I'm gonna have a good time with this. I think if you're going into this expecting something more than a game about a cat wandering around, you might be disappointed. But if you're going into this game because you are excited at a cat wandering around, I don't really see how that can be disappointing. I don't know. What's other people's opinions on Stray?
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't seem like something that I would be super into, but it seems like for what it is, it's going to be quite good. So
I really like the look of it, but I don't think I'd ever actually get it and play it, much to my own chagrin.
Wow.
I don't know why.
Not as many cat fans
something I'd like to play.
Well, it's not all like cats.
I love cats, but I'm allergic.
I grew up with cats. It's just, and it's really cute, and it's like nice to watch and look at, but I don't know if it's something that I would actually play personally. Which isn't to say anything about the game's quality. It's just not. Just doesn't seem like something.
The
for
CAD
me.
doesn't sell you enough on it. The existence of a CAD is not enough.
You know what? I'm gonna say it. No, I need more than just a cat main character. I'm
Shame.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Shame.
I love
Shame.
cats. I grew up with
Shame.
with cats and dogs as a kid, but I need more than you walk around as a cat. I'm
Look
sorry.
at that cat. Look how disappointed he is in you.
He's glaring.
He's
right
a
in the
super
You-
cute cat. Don't take the wrong message away from what I'm saying.
This cat's
all right?
upset now because of what you just
may
said.
have won over Ryan with them big old eyes, but you're gonna have to do more than that to impress me. Does a
Them
backflip.
big old eyes.
Oh.
Heartless.
Well,
I
it's
don't know.
good,
This
and I
looks
hope it
like,
does well.
This looks like a kind of like a more visually higher definition like version of the Sable Journey kind of game where it's like, yeah, you're just like walking, and every so often there's something that kind of changes that a little bit, but like
Well, I just
like
love
how
the
the rover-
implication of this thing seeing a cat, slamming an emergency
And-
button, and
yeah.
running away.
Yeah.
It's
Has
really
gotten me
allergic.
so
He's
interested
scared.
in whatever is going on.
Dude,
Why is
he's
that
just
robot
really
scared of
allergic.
the cat?
Okay, leave him alone.
It's those histamines. They're gonna get him.
These
robots,
environments all look
you
so
know,
good. The weird flesh walls. I'm
famously-
like,
Yeah.
ooh.
It's a good
Yeah,
it's a
that-
good looking game.
That
They got the
flesh
eye
wall
shine
has
right.
a lot of intrigue. That's some really cool art stuff with the eye shine.
I love these robot designs too.
mhm.
And the
I mean,
the animation
robot
for
gondolier.
how just squishy the cat is.
So into
Good
it.
stuff.
Yeah, I think the big question mark with this game is how big it actually is, because that's been the thing that I think is definitely hard to tell because it looks really good, but it feels like it could either be a super linear game or it's going to end up being way bigger than people think it is. I don't know which yet. I'm excited for either because I would
I
love
get-
a linear cat exploration game, but
I 100% get linear vibes, but I'm not opposed to either.
they're showing a lot of like big environments like this thing and a lot of the city streets and whatnot.
But
so.
how much of that is just visuals and how much of it is
Exactly, that's
actually-
what I'm curious about.
Or-
Because like
yeah.
if I'm playing a cat and you show me an environment that looks like a cat could climb it, the cat better be able to climb it,
Mhm.
right? All right. Moving on to our next major
Ooh.
thing, we have one of the
You know,
other
I-
big games of the show. Yeah,
Oh,
Alex.
You know, I bet there that you play a cat. That's a really good canonical reason for there not to be fall damage.
Yep, 100%.
Okay.
This is Callisto Protocol, which is a game that we saw an announcement trailer for a while back, but didn't see much else for.
Dead Space spiritual successor.
Yeah,
seems to
pretty
be
much.
the,
By
seems
Dead
to be the
Spaceman.
consensus.
By some of the original devs. It's from Striking Distance, which is a relatively new studio, but big team working on this. The team is like 150 people, so it is essentially a AAA team, a slightly smaller
you
AAA
can-
team, but
Double A
you can
plus.
see it in the visuals as well. It's a
Yeah.
good
this
quality
game
looking
looks
game.
really good.
We got that diegetic UI. We have that cyberpunk bar on the back of the neck. Good
Big
stuff.
thing for like a Dead Space spiritual successor in horror games in general is good lighting, and
Oh, yeah.
this is
lighting,
They got
looking
it, yeah.
this is looking quality for sure.
Yeah,
Interesting thing about this.
impressive.
Interesting thing about this game. When they showed this off originally, it was set in the PUBG universe.
And
Ah,
then
yeah.
right before this trailer, they
Yup.
took it back.
And then right before this trailer, they changed it. Yep.
Yeah.
Which
Which was a
is
good decision
super-
because why?
I feel like the reasoning why was probably they got funding from some of the PUBG team or something. Like there has to have been some really weird reason for that.
Yeah.
And then they took it back.
I do wonder
Oh.
how much, like, when that
Ugh.
decision was made, and
Yeah.
how much was changed as a result of that decision.
Mm.
I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's an association I would never think to make.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Really.
With this
it's nice it's
game?
going to be available for PS4.
Well, also, I mean, my first reaction when someone told me that it was part of the PUBG universe, I was like, PUBG has a universe? They have lore?
Yeah.
Exactly.
What?
It's like a
Pardon?
joke.
Yeah. This is, I don't know. I think this game looks excellent. I'm usually not even into these kind of horror games, but this trailer is great. The monster designs look really cool. I like that you have both the robotic looking enemies and the more human, creepy creatures of Dead Space. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited to see this. I'm excited that a lot of the original devs are behind this. So,
Yeah.
hopefully, we're getting something that is somewhat true to the original feeling of Dead Space.
It'll be interesting to compare this to the Dead Space remake.
Yeah, really, because I wonder they might end up coming out around the same time too.
That's what I was thinking. Like release windows for both of those. It'll be really interesting.
I'm curious if they have a gun that feels as good to use as the plasma cutter.
Yeah, if it's because they don't really
kind of looks like
I
it.
don't think so because they would have shown it off, wouldn't they?
It looks like.
I mean, the
whole
pistol he's using here looks really.
You have an
impactful.
electrified baton, and then you have the pistol that looks like a flare gun with a 2-ton weight attached to it, which looks like funner than I described that.
The thing to keep in mind too is that
look how much recoil that has.
80% of the weaponry in Dead Space games is like repurposed mining equipment, right? So that's gonna have a very specific feel to it. This looks like you're just using standard. Right. This just looks like you're using standard guns and stuff, which isn't bad. It's just I would expect them to feel different if they were actual weapons and not like, buzzsaws stuff.
Yeah.
Like that.
I guess we'll have to see what the actual setting, because there could be like an injector gun that somehow got modified to like shoot needles.
Well, because it depends too. Because I like for the Dead Space games, at least especially 1 and 2, you're kind of straining the definition of what is a survival horror with those games because they're just like they're so action heavy and so shooting heavy. You really
Especially the
Resident
second
Evil
one.
4,
yeah,
2 especially. It's literally like the developers literally just wanted Resident Evil 4 in space and they did it perfectly. But with that comes a lot of like action stuff, and this trailer gives me more just straight up survival horror vibes. There's a lot more super cramped, tight environments that they showed off. A lot of segments when you're like slowing down at Outlast style and like going through like little.
This gives me a lot of like RE2 remake vibes.
Yeah, exactly.
Less focus on weaponry and more like you have a gun, still not gonna do a lot.
Yeah, you only have 6 bullets and it takes like 12 to kill something or something like that.
Just figure it out.
Yeah.
Which personally, that's the big thing for me is I like Dead Space because I like horror action more so than like survival horror. So that might be something that, even though I like Dead Space, it might turn me off of this just because it's more focused on that than, action.
Exactly, yeah. Which again, no way to tell. Game's not out yet. But
not that that's a bad thing. I'm just speaking as a personal preference thing.
But also at the same time, because I know the development for the Dead Space games in some ways it wasn't like a torture fest or anything, but there was a lot of things that the teams really wanted to do and they just couldn't because of the technology at the time and the time that they had. So I wonder if this, because you always like every so often you hear about the dream projects of a creator coming back to make the one thing they always wanted to do and they finally get to do it all. I wonder if this is going to be something like that, because that'd be pretty cool to see for such a weird.
Oh, so like Mighty Number 9.
Shut up.
Man.
You're Mighty Number 1 on my hit list right now, Wyatt.
Yeah.
Well, we were all thinking it.
Brett's transition to threatening Wyatt. Wow. What a backward society we live in.
Brett should have all the time, just not in front of other people online. He's sneaky about it.
Yep.
It should have been me.
Well, at least it comes out on my birthday on December 2nd, so we get to play it this year. Nice little birthday gift from Striking Distance.
Birthday gift that you have to buy.
We're specifically thinking of you, Ryan.
Oh yeah, it's
and no one else.
Specifically thinking of me. All right, our next big thing is another really interesting looking game that I'm very curious as to what this ends up playing like fully.
I thought this was stable for a second.
This is
I forgot this.
For the first 30 seconds, that was me.
This is my big ticket item.
Okay.
I can't blame
This
you.
is Rollerdrome. It's by let me see if I can find their actual name. It's by the Ollie Ollie development team.
Yeah.
It's called Roll 7.
Private Division.
Private Division's a publishing studio. They're not a development team. It's by Roll 7.
Because I remember seeing them recently for something.
They are new. So Private Division's publishing a bunch of newer things.
Did they publish Outer Worlds?
They might. Yeah, they did. They published Outer
I know
Worlds.
they had some sort of association.
They're publishing Kerbal Space Program too. A couple other stuff like that. Yeah, they're a
Outer
newer
Worlds, that's right.
thing.
The game I couldn't get past the tutorial.
Some impressive stuff for the indie scene. I mean, Kerbal Space Program 1
Yeah.
was super popular.
Yeah. And of course disintegration. So not all AA hitters there.
Can't
but
win them all.
That is the first time I've thought about the game Disintegration in a very long time, right?
And it will be the last for the next few years.
Yep.
What's gonna happen in a few years, Brett?
Yeah,
Disintegration 2.
I think this game looks really impressive to me.
Oh yeah.
At least gameplay wise. I'm a little worried about what the actual like structure of whatever type of thing you do in this game is. I don't know if there'll be a campaign, if it's something else, because like this is the kind of thing you'd see in maybe Rollerdrome. The name, the arena setup makes you think multiplayer, but I don't really think it's multiplayer because you can see a lot of like times where the screen slows down and it looks like slow time stuff is being used.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the my friend Paige wrote
Like this, so
Bullet Time.
I'm not buying that
Havoc.
it's multiplayer yet.
And the enemies seem very static.
Yeah, the
as
enemies
well.
seem very unique and like each of them serves a purpose. And like there's no way that is a multiplayer thing. So
No.
this to me says this is a single player thing. So now I'm wondering, okay, well what is the structure of this game? How am I going to play it? Is it like a Tony Hawk style score madness thing? 'Cause I'd be down for that. I just wish there was some like establishment of what it actually is here, and whether or not to expect like this is an arcade thing, this is a thing where there's going to be like a campaign.
I'm
For a
assuming it's
second-
some sort of sandboxy, just find your own flow and deal with the enemies as you wish.
Well, yeah, because I was thinking for a second when I was first watching this, I was like, it kind of reminded me of oh god, what's the like platform, like that first person kind of platformer. It was like cyberpunk setting
Mirror's
with
Edge.
with the you had the sword.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Ghost
God.
something.
Oh, Ghost Runner.
Ghost
Ghost
Runner.
Runner, Ghost
Yeah.
Runner.
Yeah.
It was giving me Ghost Runner vibes in terms of like
Really?
structure. Yeah, because I was.
I mean,
thinking,
Ghost
like,
Runner has
okay,
like a full campaign.
Do you think
Yeah.
Do you think it's gonna be as unforgiving as that? Like you get shot once and you're dead?
Well, I don't know.
It
But
doesn't
I was
look like
thinking
that.
like Ghost Runners is also about flow, finding the best like pathway through something, and that I was getting vibes from of that like from this for a little bit.
Yeah. This is supposedly going to be taking uses of a lot of the DualSense specific things. So it's using much of the 3D audio stuff. It's using the haptics, and you can do reloads by doing tricks. So some neat little
sick.
That's a
scoring
fun
elements
idea.
in here. Yeah, this is one of the ones that I think really looks like I'm gonna have a good time with this, just because I love all the Tony Hawk and like old action sports games. So hopefully this fills that little niche with a bit of my friend Pedro in there. So yeah, I think this looks very fun.
Cool art style as well.
Yeah, there is a confirmation here. There are levels, which I think is easy to guess, but I'm curious to see how long this game ends up being and what the price is for it. I think that'll
No,
be
it's
a
open world
Hey.
just to piss Brett off.
God.
I think that'll be a big sticking point for a lot of people is
That
how
it's not
long this
open
game
world?
is. No, how
It-
long the game is and price and whatnot. Because games like these can be really short and really expensive sometimes. So I'm hoping that they've hit a good price point and length thing to not upset a general
Ratio.
audience.
I feel like it's gonna be around the
But-
$30 range.
But if they have a community level creator,
Oh,
Oh yeah,
Oh,
there you
there you
go.
That's
There
the
you go.
solution.
Oh, that
Which
that
it would be
brings back,
sick. if they did.
And if they
That-
don't at launch and they have it in an update later, we're claiming it as we called it first.
That's
That would-
We gave them the idea.
That would bring
Exactly.
back the golden age of line rider level creation.
Oh man,
Line Rider, my God.
what
Trials,
a
dude.
Yeah.
oh.
I can imagine this would have a
Yeah.
really good time with like daily arenas to run or something that had weird modifiers.
Mhm.
Love to see something like that. All right. Next on, we have a passion project by a very small dev team, I believe. I want to look up the size of this dev team. It's Studio Psy, and I don't know how big they are.
Oh, not.
Yeah, this is an indie game. It may not look like it, but it is an indie game. Yeah, there's like no information available on this developer, but I definitely saw the main developer of this game put out like a big blog post right
I
beforehand.
have that up
Oh,
right now.
I'm
Yeah.
immediately getting Persona vibes because
Go
you
ahead
have
and
a
outline it
calendar.
for us, Brett.
I'll just read it. I'll just read the top thing. Posted by the dev, I played Persona 5 in 2019 and wanted to play Persona 4 Golden and Persona 3 FES as well. I quit my day job and started developing a Persona-inspired game, and today I made it onto the Sony State of Play. So if you ever needed motivation to do the thing you wanted to do, I mean, there it is right there. Because this is deceiving. This does not look like an indie game. This looks comparable to something like Blue Reflection or like Soul
Yeah.
Hackers 2 or something
Especially
like
with
that.
like
This looks
animated,
pretty-
full
Yeah.
anime
Yeah.
scenes in the trailer,
It's very
which is
PS2,
impressive.
which I appreciate.
And it looks good. It's a. I mean,
This is an
considering what it's
extremely
coming-
good-looking indie game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this looks rad. It might have issues. These indie action games tend to have small problems crop up that make the gameplay a little bit weird. But if it doesn't, and it actually ends up feeling as good as it looks, then I am really, really going to be into this, I think.
But the selling point is this is not just an action game.
Oh, it's a dating
Of
action game.
course.
It's a dating sim
Of
action.
in
course.
Persona fashion, you gotta have those social links in there somewhere. Which, hey, if this guy legitimately cited Persona as inspiration, now that I am like 75 hours into one of them, I can appreciate that that's actually a very good sign, and not just like some guy who's like, yeah, but what if you could like kiss the girls too? Wouldn't that be like a cool thing to put in? Like, no, if it's actually done with the finesse that the social links in Persona are done,
It'll be a lot of fun.
then exactly, then it'll be
Especially 'cause
actually
you can
like,
tell
very
this is a
meaningful.
smaller cast. It looks like there's going to only be these main 5 people.
Mhm.
The closest that I've come to playing a dating sim is a BioWare game.
Oh.
But I am assuming that, dating sims, you still need well-written, interesting
Oh, yeah.
characters. I would assume that's an important part of that genre.
Sometimes.
Oh, Wyatt, I can tell
Sometimes.
you, I've played more than my fair share of visual novels and dating sims.
Mhm.
I say that like I've played more than 2, but
What's your fair
Two
share?
is enough.
2 is enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, these games, if they're good, they got to be written extremely well, extremely well, or they need to have the hook of it's mech based and there's a mech action brawler game hidden inside of it. At which point I'll also
Soccer
play it.
Wars or whatever.
No, that's
13
Baldur's Sky.
Sentinels?
Baldur's Sky has an entire mech based action game built
That's-
in, which is
That's
super
two
cool.
whole different games.
Yeah,
Soccer
2 whole
Wars
different
is
games
two.
with mech-based action that are dating sims. So, yeah, it looks. This to me, the trailer is saying that this is rad. Is what I'm getting. The vibes I'm getting off this game are this is rad. But, having played many Japanese-inspired indie games, most of them are terrible. Most of them are really bad. And do not take the right lessons from the writing and whatnot. So I think that the good things in this trailer is it's not trying to hide what it is. That's usually what gets you, is if they're afraid to say that they involve a dating sim element, that usually means it's going to be weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the look of this is very good. The fact that you can press R2 to hold hands is one of the most crazy things I've ever heard of, and I love it. That's a real press F to pay respects tier thing.
Exactly.
I was
I'm
just
so
thinking
glad
that.
it's
I was
there.
just thinking that.
Yeah,
See,
I'm
it's-
excited for this.
Can I
EDA gives
go
you a
off on a small
multiplier in
tangent?
battle.
Can I go off on a tiny little tangent? Speaking of SF to pay respects, there is one kind of like video game control prompt meme that I think is almost as funny as that, and it's in Ghost of Tsushima, where you have to hit right trigger and it says right trigger to mourn the dead, which
It's
is
the same thing with
basically
more
the same
words.
thing.
Yeah. Just a different button.
And it's like, how is that not memed more? Come on,
Look, I think
people.
press F to pay respects is just so succinct.
Exactly.
And
It rolls
it's-
off the tongue.
It is such a genius little capsule of meme that you can use. Truly captures the Metal Gear Rising state of memery. So, all right, that's Terranites. Next look, this is. I keep saying this because a lot of games in the state of play looked really good. This next thing we're going to be talking about also looks really good, especially after the first little hint of this game that we saw, which was terrible. Really bad. So, bit of a turnaround for our good old fashioned Street Fighter 6.
Yeah.
Whoa.
For someone like me who's not a fighting game person, this one is very pretty, and I do like watch. I like because
It almost gives me like
you
Jet
know,
Set
as
Radio vibes.
a little bit, yeah, it has that kind of
Mhm.
like more like I don't even know what you call it, just like style to it. Obviously, they're stylized in a different way with more polys and stuff, but like Guilty Gear Strive has like their own like graphic style that is like blasting at you on the screen the whole time. You look at the counter and just all like the different like fonts and polygons and stuff that come up on the screen. This has the rainbow splashies, and I'm a fan of the rainbow splashies. I gotta say, I like they're
Big fan of
super
Rainbow
dynamic looking.
Splashies.
They just look so cool, and it's like
Yeah.
something that I'm noticing is that a lot of like newer fighters, just from like the my point of view, someone who's just looking at them all the time, like
I
they're
just
all
want to
very like they have their own unique visual flares to them now. Which
like the
is
way
very
the finishers and whatnot do this kind of
Oh,
like
yeah.
paint splash thing looks so cool. But
Yeah.
I want to take you through a little thought process that I was having. I see this image here, and I'm like, oh, this almost looks like a Splatoon hub world or something. And then they start showing off a bunch of environments at different angles. I'm going, wait a minute. This doesn't feel like a Street Fighter intro. This feels like an open world intro.
There's more than one
And then they
dimension.
bend down
There's
to
more than
this,
two
and he
dimensions
starts
here.
moving around. My mind is blown. I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm looking at here. I don't know what structure the story mode of this game is going to take. I'm excited for it, though. Just because I think the potential of a Street Fighter weird open world roaming thing is so high, even if it's terrible.
Shenmue almost, yeah.
I just think even if it's terrible, it could be a really fun idea. So I'm looking forward to whatever form this takes. I think Chun-Li looks great. I think Ryu looks great.
Everyone
All our
does.
main cast looks really good, which coming off of Street Fighter V's like questionable art style at a lot of the time, I think is really good. Yeah,
Animation
everyone here looks good.
is freaking next level too. This
Yeah.
looks
The like
really
neon
good.
graffiti style is so solid. Ryu looks like he could snap someone in half with a snap of his fingers.
Ryu
which is
has a
great.
Yeah.
beard.
You could
to
take his
note the
thumb and his-
passage of time.
He could take his thumb and his pointer finger and just like hold your chin and just.
Yeah. I'm just happy for Street Fighter to be happening again, and for them to have the chance to undo some of the mess that is Street Fighter V's legacy, if you can call it that, which is like
People not like Street Fighter. I am not tuned.
okay.
into
So
the
Street Fighter
fighting games
Five,
scene at all.
super
Network
good,
issues,
incredibly
I believe,
good
was
fighting
the-
game.
Mhm.
Monetization, terrible.
I that was
There
one of
are
the games that had, like,
ads.
in-game advertisements, like
They're in-game
billboards.
advertisements, which like I'm not super opposed to in-game advertisements if they make sense. Like if I'm fighting in a wrestling ring in a game and there's an advert on like the stadium banner going around, I don't care. Because that to me is just like, okay, that's what it's like to be in this area.
Or if you have a
Um,
Monster Energy like right in front of the camera and someone's constantly just downing Monster Energy. Not thinking of any specific game. No.
Look, in
Not
Death
pointing
Stranding, it's
fingers.
more just funny.
It's just
It
fun,
is.
yeah.
It is. It kind of is.
But they did this thing where they would offer you like discounts on stuff if you watched an ad during the load into
Oh.
matches, which like
What?
doubled the loading time. Yeah, they stopped doing it eventually. But it's just so
Whoa.
confusing. You could wear like sponsored gear on your fighter to like get bonus currents. It's so strange.
I will say this. I would rather have ads like in the background or something like that than microtransactions that changes the gameplay. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
I mean,
want
it
any
was
of them,
really
especially if
egregious,
if I'm like I don't want any of them if I'm paying full price, but I'd rather have something that's just kind of in the background and annoying
And not to mention that
rather
like
than
Street
something
Fighter
that changes the
5
gameplay.
wound up with like 5 different versions. It was super confusing on what to get if you're gonna play the
Hey,
game.
You're telling me that Capcom releases multiple versions of the same game?
Yeah, but it's
That
like
is-
this
3
isn't-
different versions all released at different times. One of them, like the one called Complete, is not the complete version. You had to get like the season 3, year
Yeah,
3
Of course,
version.
it's not.
And we're past the era of video games where it's like, oh well, we made changes to the version that people could play it about in the arcades, but we can't update the game, so we'll just put out a new version. It's like just patch it. Come on, you don't need to have a whole new version.
Enough with the excuses, please.
There's like 40 billion DLC characters that'll cost money and stuff.
So I'm gonna. This will be our game for the episode. Just take a quick
Oh.
gander, all you three. Not a gander. Just take a guess at how much money's worth of DLC you can buy for Street Fighter V right now. How much would it cost you to get the
God.
full
Right now,
thing right now? This is not including microtransactions within the game. This is just the DLC,
just the DLC.
just costumes
Right.
and characters. It's a dollar amount.
$275.
I'm gonna one up that. I'm gonna say $500.
I'm gonna say $1,000.
All right, good to see that you are all still completely overestimating Capcom's greed. They're not quite that greedy. $225 is our number.
Hmm.
I am thinking in this way because I did just read that Diablo Immortal, in order to get full progression,
Oh.
costs $110,000 US.
How do we not
Yep,
talk about
yeah,
that?
I
Are we gonna
saw-
talk
I
Whole
about
saw-
that?
different can of worms.
I saw the Paul
Yeah.
Tassi video. It's
Are we? We're gonna talk
Oh.
about that at some point, right?
At some point?
Maybe. Yeah.
Look, do we need to have the conversation now? Because we can have the conversation now.
would you like
know,
to?
It would be best to have the conversation.
Would you like to?
Look, we'll put it this way: talking about Blizzard stuff is going to be real weird for a little
Mhm.
while. So we're not
Do
going to
we
talk
wanna
about
say
Blizzard
why
stuff for a little
now?
while.
Or are we gonna?
We're just not going to talk about Blizzard
Leave
stuff
it.
for a little while.
Okay.
Just for a little while, you know.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe like maybe like 1 week. It seems like a good amount of time. All right. After that, Street Fighter 6 was what we were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yes.
other cool thing I wanted to bring up here is they showed. Or actually, pass it. There was a cool bit towards the end where they're actually showing that the online multiplayer lobby thing, which. Look, every fighting game person hates online multiplayer lobbies because they just kind of obfuscate the ability to play the game. But the lobby they showed here looked kind of cool, so maybe it'll be good, but I don't know. Yeah, I love the look of these finishers. I love the look of the trailer. Just very solid. The logo looks much better now. That was another big thing. Is the Street Fighter 6 logo looked terrible originally.
Well, it's this cool, like it's got these pieces flying together and then it like spins around. It's
Also
cool
the
presentation.
Roman numeral 6
Yeah.
then becomes the number numeral 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool looking.
It's much better looking than I don't know
Yeah.
if anyone else here saw the
Oh,
original.
I didn't see
like,
that
reveal
before.
trailer.
Oh, that's so cool.
I did, yeah. Didn't
Yeah,
look
that was
good.
the original Street Fighter 6 teaser trailer was not well received at all. Much better reception for this. So, moving on.
Oh,
they're
that's
just
its
showing
original. Oh.
its original logo was real bad.
Oh.
All right, where is our next thing? I think it's right here. That's Tunic. We all know about Tunic. We talked about Tunic.
Go play Tunic. Very
We
good.
all know it. We all love
Very
it.
good. It's on Game Pass. This is our next new thing, which is
Yes.
from Scavenger Studio called Season: A Letter to the Future. Now, I think I want to
Good,
say
I'm
we've
very
seen this
excited
one
about.
other time.
We have. I know we have.
While back. Does look, I think, very interesting. The world that they're setting up here is something that I definitely want to explore. Give me good, cozy vibes.
Love the character designs. They
Mhm.
they
Yeah,
because they're a little bit like exaggerated, but not too much. It's more subtle, I think, than you might expect. It looks really nice.
yep. And you have a bunch of tools you can use that they're showing off here. Things like a microphone that you can use to record and play back sounds. And you can do this with like at any point in the game. Get off your bike and go do this kind of stuff, which is a cool little concept. I'm curious to see how they'll work that into the gameplay loop, or if it's more of a free form thing. So it's very. This is just a game that I see footage of, and I want to just pick up a controller and go play it.
Same, yeah.
It's very cozy.
Lovely, just absolutely beautiful looking journal too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is one of those games where 20, 30 years from now, people are still going to say that it looks really good because it's
Timeless.
stylized to hell and back, and it looks
Timeless.
Man, what if Sonic Frontiers looked like this?
Imagine, imagine big name, big budget video game projects, understanding what they are and not trying to replicate
Yeah.
real life every single time. That's crazy.
And
It's
season, it's
possible.
coming soon
Doesn't
too.
happen.
To
So
be clear, there's a time and place for that realistic art style. You just don't
Oh,
need it
yeah,
all the
that's-
time for all your
yeah.
projects.
That's
Yeah.
why I said not all the time.
Right.
all right, that's our big state of play. After that,
Yeah.
we got our final little thing here, which is definitely my, of course, as is tradition at this point, stating that this is my game of the show. After every other game of the show, that was also my game of the show.
Of course.
But of course, this one is introduced by Yoshi P, which means truly my game of the show, as the Final
God
Fantasy
appeared on the
14
screen.
mark I am. God himself, Naoki Yoshida, has descended upon our souls to deliver us the Final Fantasy that we deserve. Look, I went on a binge right before this episode, watching every other mainline Final Fantasy, like intro cinematic and stuff, to gauge the hype levels, right? Gauge what we're working with here. 16 looks good. That's the overwhelming thing of like going back and looking at other trailers. 16 is a step above because it looks complete. That's like the big
Yes.
thing, is that
They have a
this is harkening back to like FF12 days and prior, when you would see a trailer for the game and you're like, oh, that looks like a game that I could probably play soon.
Mm-hmm. which soon, also worth pointing out, Ryan, after so recently displaying so proudly that they were in the final little stretch of development. When is this game coming out, Ryan?
Of course, 2023.
1 year.
The summer of 2023. So
My God.
I
The
think
whole time.
honestly what has happened here, I feel like this game is probably would have been ready for like a holiday-ish release. And what has happened is that Forspoken, similarly terrible names, it had to be delayed. And
Returnal's a
It
great
ruined
game.
everything.
Quiet, quiet you.
wait, how are you okay with Returnal and not okay with Forspoken? They're both bad.
No, they're not. No,
they're
they're
the
not
same tier of bad.
Forspoken sucks. Returnal is great. How dare you?
There is no logic to that decision making.
I've
yeah.
explained it to you. Oh.
No, none. I don't like it either way. Forspoken got delayed again. You gotta let me finish my sentence at some point.
Wow.
Forspoken
No,
has
I
been
refuse.
delayed.
Who could have guessed?
Look, if I have
Yeah,
to
I
keep
gotta-
talking, I'm gonna start coughing mid-sentence and have to mute myself. So I'm trying to get through the sentence I was gonna say. Forspoken was delayed to October, which means anything Square was going to have releasing around that timeline has now been pushed back another 3 to 6 months. Meaning we also haven't seen anything from 7 Remake, Part 2.
Yeah.
Probably because they didn't
Oh.
want to put both that and this in the same state of play, because that would be a little weird.
Mhm.
But
So
they didn't want to have a complete rule on the state of play. They didn't want to have the monopoly of
it's too
people's
much Final
attention.
Fantasy. You can't show people this trailer and expect them to have bandwidth left for Remake Part 2.
Yeah.
This is too much. There's so much to analyze with this trailer. I love the focus that they have on primals again. We're doing more of the classic Final Fantasy summons and whatnot. We're actually getting a focus on a lot of the crazy Final Fantasy tropes, which is super exciting. I just love the look of all of these. They're calling them icons in this game, and not primals as they are in some of the others. So I think this looks, just the way that this is set up, so interesting. The size of them, man, I'm sold. I want to play the boss fights that they show of you fighting
Yeah.
every other primal, presumably as the big primal.
Hmm.
Looks great.
Mhm.
This weird, like, looks like a cutscene that plays mid combat and whatnot, and all these. The combo based combat system looks really fun.
UI. Is on
UI?
the-
We get a little UI.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
the
pause
UI.
it. This is a good. We're
Now,
seeing the
with-
whole UI. Yep.
Now there was a bit where it was showing. I don't know if it was cutscene back into gameplay or it was full
I think
cutscene bit. There was a part where there wasn't UI and then it faded in the same shot to show the amount of damage that was dealt.
I think these are cutscenes happening mid fight, is what's happening. because this is Creative Business Unit 3. It's the team that does Final Fantasy 14, and that's a thing that happens in 14 bosses. Sometimes is they'll cut to a cutscene, and the UI will stay on screen and everything, and to get like a little actiony cutscene in the center that you might still have like control of your character and need to move somewhere or something, but it's more just for the spectacle of what's going on.
Like
But
do we
yeah.
know
change.
if they're going for like a 7 remake style combat system, or if they're kind of
Absolutely
It-
don't think so.
direction.
This does not
It's
look like
yeah,
that
'cause
whatsoever.
there's no slowing down at all. Like it's
'Cause let's-
full, just
let's
like
look at
your
a couple of the
abilities
things
are
on the screen here.
buttons, and that's it.
So
This is fully souped up DMC, I feel.
yeah, this is Devil May
This is the
Cry style.
DMC guy.
We got levels. We got your Final Fantasy levels. But the big takeaway here is it looks like the combat system revolves around you swapping between the different primal powers.
Yeah.
Because you can see up here, he's using the Titan powers. He's got like Phoenix and Garuda lined up or something to use. So the prevailing theory right now is that your quote-unquote party, because for this game, we haven't seen footage of you fighting with party members. So generally, people don't think that you're going to have like a combat party, but instead it's going to be more of like a Persona style system where you're talking to people outside that will like rank up your primal abilities. So you'll like talk to the holder of the primal that you're using, and then your like relationship with them will increase your abilities
So there's
using
no-
that primal.
So when you're fighting, it's just you. Like there's no party.
Well, we don't know that.
That's
This
what
is all
it looks like,
speculation. All
Speculation.
speculation.
Right.
What it looks like
because-
for now.
But we have not seen combat where you were fighting with a set party. So I think it is safe at this point to assume, unless they show us combat with a party and like a UI that includes party members, it does not seem like they're going to be a huge focus. You can see like
Mesmerizing.
items in the bottom left. What it looks like is that you press the left trigger here to swap between your different forms and whatnot, and that gives you these different abilities in the bottom right, probably mapped to face buttons. And I want to point out some of the names that were just up here of abilities. You have Heaven's Cloud, Arm of Darkness, and Gungnir, which are incredible move names.
Yeah.
We also see this is a more adult Final Fantasy game. We saw some back there. That's not a Final Fantasy trope.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think this definitely looks exciting. The team
put a
behind
I'd be
this is
excited
a lot
to
of
see-
talent.
I would be very excited to see like that full like multi-person battle tape there with the two armies clashing.
Yeah,
Even if you're not participating in it, but it's happening in the background of a fight when you are like the primal. Ooh,
Yep.
What a fun stage.
I mean, yeah,
To,
and then it cuts
have
to
a
these,
battle
which
in.
just look like some of the finishing moves that your primals can use, and they look so good. Seeing like proper summons.
There it is. There's the damage in the cutscene.
Yeah, these are very Final Fantasy 14 in the way they're directed and everything. A lot of these designs are very Final Fantasy 14 in general. Garuda looks straight out of that game.
These creature designs are insanity.
They're so
This
good.
is crazy. And I
Yeah.
do mean that in a good way, to be clear.
I think this looks so impressive.
Yeah.
This is cool.
And there's more of a
It's-
focus on story this time, so I think we're actually going to see a lot more.
People have pointed this out before, but
We're-
it seems definitely more of like a medieval setting than what we've
yeah,
got before.
God.
We're still dealing with that royal court stuff from 15, but I think that it has no choice but to be
Well, we always have a
executed
royal
better.
court. We've always got it. Final Fantasies. I don't think there's been a Final Fantasy since like 5 that hasn't had a royal court.
It's kind of like saying, "Oh, we got another
7.
Zelda game, and we got to deal with that Zelda again."
Nah, 7's got a royal court. They're just a capitalist royal court instead. That's what Shinra is. So
Quote unquote.
yeah, it's
Which they
the
explain who
Final
Shinra
Fantasy
is
trope.
at the end of the game rather than the beginning of the.
Yeah, I definitely think this is a good looking trailer for this game. I love the art that they have here.
Oh yeah, very fun title bit. You got Phoenix and I
Ifrit,
assume the
I
main
think.
character.
Yeah, the main
Ifrit.
character is the Ifrit primal, is what it looks like.
And again, I think I've asked this probably
summer
1,000 times.
2023.
This isn't really connected to anything else, right? It's 15.
No, Final Fantasy
15,
doesn't
but
connect between each other unless it says it connects between events.
You
and
know,
they don't.
Like
13
13
too.
2. Hey!
And 13 Lightning Returns.
Jinx, you owe me a kiss on the lips.
13. Oh. Yeah, that it was very for a modern Final Fantasy. That it was a very confidence-inspiring trailer, and if they have that much extra time, like if that game has one bug in it when it comes out, it will be all for nothing because my God, they have like an extra like 6 months now, and it's like it's Yoshi P and friends making it. Like, come on. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but like the other thing also, I don't wanna be opinionated on this
Oh,
podcast. I never do that. But
really?
the last time that, a video game was important enough to push back other video games was Cyberpunk, and I don't think Forspoken looks like it's going to be very good. So if history repeats itself, I want to be the guy that says that I
Oh,
called it right now.
did Cyberpunk have a buggy launch or
No.
something?
No, it
No.
had a very
Sorry,
featureful launch.
I've never played it, so
No.
I don't know.
It's just also every time they show Forspoken, it's like, why?
I
Why?
I do
I think it
feel
looks
Very
cool,
good at
but
all.
it does have that feeling to it. It's mostly visual spectacle at this point, and the cool scarves you can get your character out with.
I think it
I've
looks
watched like
cool.
three 20-minute videos of people for explaining Forspoken's combat system, and I still don't get it. Just because it doesn't.
It has a system?
There are like multiple lengthy videos of the developers showing off and like explaining the combat system, except the people playing clearly, or not the people playing, but they're like the IGN or whatever people that they got to watch it with them clearly don't know what's going on. Like they haven't been briefed about what's happening, so they're having to explain. They're like saying all these words, and the person doing the interview is like, "Well, I don't know what those words mean. So can you explain those words?" And it's very funny.
God.
So we got Glambertronics.
It looks way more complicated than it needs to be, but also kind of maybe fun, maybe a little bit fun. We'll see.
Still on board. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think
The bigger
because,
concern is probably the open world and all that shenanigans that will ensue because of it.
Holy
But
crap.
You mean those
what
large
we've seen,
open
there-
fields that hopefully have maybe enemies in them?
I'll
taking
say
up
this
space?
about open world design. For me, I feel like I've said this before, but for me, you can make up for having like a big open world if you have a cool way of traversing in it, right? Spider-Man, standard open world stuff, but you get to swing around as Spider-Man, so no one cares, right?
Well,
We've seen a lot of cool, like sliding, kind of almost like gliding, flying traversal type stuff. So it may be
bullet
really
jump
fun
things.
and satisfying to like, traverse the open world. We don't know.
it might just be too
I
big,
hope.
though. That's my big concern. Is it's just going to be too big. That was the Final Fantasy 15 problem. If you have some cool traversal stuff. You got a cool car. You got some neat chocobos that run really cool.
Well, until they
This
take
is
the
way
car
too
away
big.
for
Well, yeah,
some
but then you can use the
reason.
chocobos. You got options when they take the car away from you, and you get it back. Don't worry.
I don't
so
like
much.
that game. I hate this game's stupid.
Very. You beat it's Final Fantasy Sourpuss time.
What? But there's no such thing as a but there's no such thing as a spoken sourpuss time. Okay.
No,
Okay.
that's every day for me.
Yeah, that's all of them.
For Sourpuss.
Yeah, we'll talk about Forspoken when we see Forspoken again. That's
Mhm.
a whole other conversation. Yeah, 16.
That
I
game
think.
wasn't taken in our
Yeah, it was.
oh wait, who
Yeah,
took it?
Wyatt took it. I think.
The only person who would.
Oh.
Says the
I
person
might-
who took the Star Wars mobile game.
Listen, man. Look,
Oh, Brad.
even if I lose catastrophically at the end of all this, right? I'm still gonna win because I took Gundam Evolution before you
Hey,
guys.
bad.
reminder to continue to pick your games and counter picks because if you
Yes.
don't, you will lose points.
I would love to
Um,
if the website was working.
The website is working,
Works for
Wyatt, so I think
me.
you may need to check.
No, it's not. It wasn't working.
I'm gonna need to ask you to share your full screen.
Yeah, on the stream, please. All right, so we're at the end of the show. We got through all of the announcements, all the things from the last couple weeks of games news. There's gonna be a lot more coming up. We might try and do a live stream of the Summer Game Fest or whatever the Microsoft showcase is coming up on the 12th, not the Summer Game Fest thing. Because that is
Should I
right
be
before this podcast.
should I be anticipating more Starfield news? Probably not.
Probably something, but I would not assume a gameplay reveal just because it's been delayed again. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about that on the next episode because that's coming up real soon. BioWare did just show off some little teaser bits for the next Dragon Age game, which is called Dreadwolf. That's the big pitch for this one. Looks neat.
I am now more excited because I'm playing Dragon Age again, so I want more Dragon Age.
Yep.
Hey.
Other minor bits of news: we saw a new Pokemon Scarlet and Violet trailer that looked pretty good. I want to say a lot more solid. It didn't have the frame rate issues that some of the earlier trailers for Legends Arceus and whatnot had.
I'm still a little, maybe not disillusioned with Pokemon at this point. Maybe I just grew out of it, unfortunately, somehow.
No, I am certainly disillusioned with Pokemon.
I am very happy that it seems that they have improved the animations.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, Legends Arceus, I would say, Legends Arceus has legitimately good animations. Playing through that, like legitimately, if they had told me they cut the roster so they could improve the animations with Legends Arceus and not Sword and Shield, I would have believed them.
Throughout Scarlet and Violet, I did not see a single combat animation where it was just the mash statically being rotated, and Oh, it's good that hopefully we can hold them to this level of quality going forward, and then push it further.
Yeah, we gotta get ahead on all the Lechonk memes. Just
sliding back. Yes.
Our Lechonk.
I'm a Smoliv boy myself. I enjoy that.
I'm in the Smoliv club too. I'm in the Smoliv garden too.
Smoliv garden. When you're here, you're family.
I do think they still need to take a college course on environmental art though, because by God, they just can't get it right. It's been like 3 games now.
And they just need Monolith Soft. They need to do a partnership with Monolith Soft and then solve other environmental issues.
There you go.
Maybe someday.
Yeah, I do think this looks a lot better than the other Pokemon games we've seen recently, and I've been enjoying Legends Arceus. It just has the issue of like the open world is very flat comparatively. But it's still very fun, and I think it's a good showing. So hopefully Scarlet and Violet take from that and not too much from Sword and Shield. And we get a cool environment. I'm hoping that is what we get, and we get some traditional Pokemon elements of like, I would love to go back to gyms and do some cool gym-related things and whatnot.
Another interesting thing for version variation, you have 2 different professors this time, and one of them is going to cause a lot of people to buy one certain version of the game.
It's true.
I wonder who that would be.
Who could it possibly be?
I'll be right back.
I don't know what you guys are talking about right now. I'm very confused.
Good.
You just look
to
at
honest,
him immediately.
I think if you look at these two professors, there's 2 things going on. One is that the woman on the left, I don't know, Professor Sato or something, Sada, presumably, I think your Scarlet professor looks like she stepped out of a Vogue shoot. And then you have Troy Baker on the right.
You have the Chad meme Troy personified.
Oh, okay. So I just looked up
looks like the Chad meme.
Okay.
Yeah, you
understand. I looked up a picture
now.
and I was like, oh, okay.
Don't look at pictures and don't scroll down on Google Images, Wyatt. You won't like what you see.
Both of their art styles are so like far off of what you expect from Pokemon that I'm stunned.
Yeah. Well, I mean, something that I saw from a lot of the character designs in one of the earlier Scarlet and Violet things was that the best way I can describe it is that the characters started to take on more of a porcelain doll vibe. I think
I get what you mean.
Back in this most recent one, or at least a little bit. Yeah,
they look less like weird plastic dolls, and more like Pokemon people again. There was a growth period with the 3D art style that's taken them a little while to iron out. Yeah, I think this looks pretty good.
Pains.
Hopefully, it actually launches well and doesn't have the issues that Sword and Shield had. So I think that'll be a big sign for that game being good. We'll see though. Oh yeah, we did get another confirmation. Toby Fox is composing additional tracks for it, which is definitely a good sign. Hey Wyatt.
Fox.
Yeah,
I didn't forget about it. Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Right.
Oh, that's a game.
I was waiting.
That wasn't.
Yeah.
That was last week, but we didn't do an episode last week, so we did not have get to talk about it. We didn't see very much, but it looks cool. 5 years after the original game.
I've heard some conspiracy theory rumors that person in the tank is actually Starkiller from.
Really?
Yeah. Are there any like? Is there any evidence to say that it is? No. Would that be kind of cool? Sure.
That would be amazing.
That'd be fun.
Turns out it's Revan, and he was just in a tank for 10,000 years or something.
Although Ryan knows how I feel about Star Wars constantly referencing itself all the time. So
hey, if we're bringing Starkiller back into canon, I'll accept that. That's an okay reference in my book. Yeah, we didn't get a lot of story information or anything like that, but it's nice to know this game is coming out. And I forget, did we get a date on it?
I don't think so.
2023. We didn't get a date. We just got 2023.
My biggest question is if they're going to embrace the Souls-like aspect more, or if they're going to.
I kind of hope they back away from it a little bit.
No, I do too. Mostly because, well, I'm not the biggest fan of that genre, but also there was a lot of moments where they were trying to like force a lot of those like genre tropes into it. Yeah, it's like meditate and then magically all the stormtroopers and
like
creatures
keep the Metroidvania stuff. Don't keep the super Dark Soulsy stuff because it doesn't fit incredibly well.
Have some more,
and it will not compare well to Elden Ring.
Have some more of the fun set pieces, like in the beginning where you're on the train. And the train is like blowing up and you're climbing around. Have more of that. That was fun.
Oh, you gotta have a good train level.
I just want more Uncharted stuff in a Star Wars game. That's really all I'm asking for.
Yeah. All right. Other last bit of like big news. Returnal is also headed to PC. That's the only thing.
That's a good fit for it, definitely. I think the PC crowd's gonna have a lot of fun with that one.
Oh, and the Dark Souls servers are coming back online. I don't know that we've got an official date yet, but we did get a confirmation from after like the 100 plus days they've been down that they are close to the fix being deployed.
Oh, I have a bit of news that no one cares about except me, but I'm going to do it anyway. There was a controversial update as part of the Halo Infinite Season 2 update where they got rid of a lot of the different skill jumps in multiplayer, and they got rid of some of the fun exploits in the campaign. Those are all back now. They changed that, so all the skill jumps are back.
So much time wasted for that update could have been spent on bringing Forge sooner.
Listen, at least they're back, okay?
Good to know that they had to take that long to do a rollback.
God.
At least they're back. So.
All right. So,
at the very least, they are back.
That, we're to shoutouts. So my shoutout is performing a bit of a double duty. I'm going first. It's a bit of a long thing. First of all, peel the curtain back a little bit. We are all relatively, I keep saying recent, it's been a year, graduated college students. That's the framework we're working with here. I've just gotten a job that's going to change some things for the podcast. I can't say what it is for a moment, but we'll talk about it very soon. The gist of the thing is we've been having an episode every week. That will probably continue most of the time, with the exception of usually when we'd reschedule to Mondays during the day. That's not going to be available anymore for pretty obvious reasons. So there might be the occasional swap out of an episode or something with something else. Like if we're doing a games club, just because in the future it's going to be a lot harder for us to schedule that during a week and whatnot. Those might take the place of a normal episode if they need to or something. So there might be some swapping around. Generally, there's always going to be something coming out in the same time frame as usual. It just may not always be a regular podcast episode. It might be like a games club or something like that. General changes like that. Nothing crazy is going to change. But yeah, that's happening. And that's the big thing. I got a job. We will talk about it more very soon.
Good job.
We're finally.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Job. All right, me go next. No one else is saying anything substantial. I kept trying to.
I said there were two things. I was waiting for a second thing.
Is there two?
I said the two. The one was the job, and the second was the scheduling stuff.
Oh, okay.
Making me second guess myself. God. My shout out. I don't usually like in any form, anime or not, like romancy, like shoujo for girls shows. But I got roped into watching one by the guy who made Evangelion, so it barely counts.
Oh.
Called Kare Kano, which translates vaguely to his and hers circumstances, and
Oh,
it is
that show's
so
great.
good. It is so good. It made me laugh. It almost made me cry.
Oh.
And then there was an episode where all the characters were animated by people moving them from off screen on popsicle sticks because they ran out of
Yeah.
time and money again. Watch it. It's really
Incredible.
good. Highly
Oh,
recommend
that's
it.
wonderful.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Bro, we're so close to just getting you to watch Haruhi or something.
I honestly,
Go
yeah,
for it.
I'm getting there.
Get in there. All right.
Well, I'll go next. My shout out is to two different European countries, Belgium and the Netherlands, for a very specific reason. They have banned Diablo Immortal in their countries for use of loot boxes and microtransactions.
Just gonna throw it out there.
Oh.
Hey, maybe regulation for loot boxes and microtransactions in games that children play is a good idea.
Yeah,
Maybe
maybe
yeah.
not a terrible idea.
God, that is awesome.
Okay.
I gotta
Follow
follow
that
that one
up,
up, Alex.
You
Good
know
lord.
I can't. You know I can't. My shout out is I made some really nice bread rolls earlier today.
I was gonna say what wonderful pastry or cooking item will you advertise for us today?
Yeah, I made Parker House rolls, which are a New England / Boston thing. That are I find them
They look very
wonderful.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look very tasty. We got to see
They have
pictures that
They
nobody
have a
else can
wonderful
see.
crumb to them, and I finally got that good sheen on top, and
That nice
and
tasty crumb.
some flaky finishing salt. Really pulling out all the stops.
Of course. All right. So with that, show's over. As always, you can expect us Tuesday mornings on the podcast platform of your choice. We got some other stuff coming up soon. The WrestleCast will be back with our Double or Nothing review this week. We're also going to have, as soon as we can find a time for it, the Games Club for the latest batch of Games Pass games. It's all coming.
Easy days.
See you in a bit. Or if you're binging, see you in a week and in several seconds. Oh.